and welcome to another episode of the City Talk podcast. I'm your host, Amanya Salas. This episode of the City Talk Common Sense Politics, where we delve into the pressing issues facing Orlando and the leaders who aim to make a difference. Today, we have the privilege of hosting a candidate who embodies a profound commitment to public safety, justice for victims, and maintaining law and order in our beloved communities. Seth Hyman is not just a candidate. He is a concerned neighbor who has decided and dedicated his life to advocating for positive change. With a strong background as an attorney, Seth brings a unique perspective to the race for Orange and Osceola State Attorney. In a time when the criminal justice system challenges are more apparent than ever, Seth Hyman is driven by the belief that our community deserves a safer, more just, and secure environment for all its residents. His vision for the role of state attorney is deeply rooted in his values, making him a candidate who truly understands the needs of our city. So, join us for a candid conversation as we get to know Seth Hyman, a dedicated community advocate and candidate who believes in making the city of Orlando and the county of Orange County and Osceola County a safer, more just place for us all. We will have a brief word from the sponsor of our video and our podcast today, and then we're going to dive into the conversation with Mr. Seth Hyman. City Talk Podcast, Common Sense Politics, Eyes on Orlando. We are so proud to partner with the Orlando Patriot. Orlando Patriot is an online store, patriotic merchandise, everything you need, flags, t-shirts, hats, magnets, and more. They have wonderful patriotic merchandise to support all of your causes where you can show off your patriotic spirit. So Orlando Patriot, they are currently offering 30% off on all merchandise, and the coupon code is City Talk. We are so proud to partner with businesses in the community, such as the Orlando Patriot. If you want to amplify your business voice on our program, please email us at citytalkpolitics@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. And for the Orlando Patriot, you can find them at orlandopatriot.com and get yourself 30% off on your purchase. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the episode with me, Amanya. And I have again a very special guest, Seth Hyman, who is running for state representative, Orange County and Osceola Counties. Seth, welcome to the program. It's so good to be here.
Actually.
Oh, what did I say?
State attorney, actually.
What did I say?
You said state representative.
Oh, God.
You said state representative.
I did, didn't I? Yes, state attorney, our Orange County, Osceola County. So, Seth, thank you for that. And tell us more about yourself and how you got involved in all of this.
Sure. Well, thank you so much, Amania, for allowing me to join you today. Again, my name is Seth Hyman. I grew up in Maitland, Florida, in Orange County. My family moved to Orange County in 1978 from Louisville, Kentucky. And my family has lived in Orange County ever since. I moved away after high school. I went to Edgewater High School. I'm a proud Eagle. And went away to college, and went to law school, became an attorney, practiced for a number of years in the corporate litigation field up in New York. And after 7 years of doing that, I missed Florida, I missed home, missed my family, and I missed the warm weather. So I decided to move back. Decided to move back to Orange County, and that was about 10 years ago. 10 years ago, and so fortunately, I was able to get a job as an assistant state attorney here in Orange County. So I worked for Jeff Ashton back in 2014, and most of the people that I worked with had been there for quite a while and had worked for Lawson Lamar, who was the longtime state attorney here in Orange County. He had been the state attorney for, 25 years.
Wow.
And so after that, I worked there for 3 years. I worked through the transition to Aramis Ayala, who was the state attorney in 2016. And in for the last 6 or 7 years, I've run my own law firm, and I do exclusively criminal defense all over Central Florida. So throughout the I-4 corridor, as far north as Volusia County and Flagler County, and as far southwest as Pinellas and Hillsborough.
Wow. So you cover a good amount of the great state of Florida.
I do, and it's been very educational, and it's helped me advance my skills as an attorney because every community is different, right? And every state attorney, we have 20 state attorneys throughout the state of Florida.
Okay.
And that is based on the population of different communities. So if you have a very populated area like Miami-Dade, that county has one state attorney. Here in our area, Orange and Osceola, that's one state attorney. But up in the Panhandle, they might have one state attorney for 5 or 6 counties.
Oh, wow.
So each state attorney handles their community's safety issues differently. And so by practicing in those counties as a defense attorney, I've gotten the opportunity to work with assistant state attorneys and see how cases are handled in a wide variety of counties, conservative counties like Polk and Marion, or more liberal counties like Hillsborough, Orange, Volusia.
We're definitely blue in this area. So tell me, what?
I mean, we've got to acknowledge the reality of things,
It is sadly the reality, and I need to be not biased here, but sadly that is the reality that we're facing. But tell me, can you explain the role and the responsibilities of the state attorney's office? As what do you do?
Sure. The state attorney is responsible for managing an office of attorneys, assistant state attorneys who work with law enforcement. Law enforcement, when someone is in trouble, they call 911, and law enforcement is usually the first responder. They investigate whether a crime has occurred, and then if a crime has occurred, they collect evidence. Sometimes they perform an arrest, and then that case gets sent over to the state attorney's office. And it's the state attorney's office to work in conjunction with law enforcement to prove beyond a reasonable doubt to a unanimous jury that the person accused of the crime did commit the crime. And so we do all that in the court. Sometimes there's a jury trial, sometimes there's a plea agreement, and sometimes if there's not enough evidence, a case doesn't actually get filed on, or on occasion, if a case is filed on and new exculpatory evidence is learned about, a case is sometimes dismissed.
Okay. So, are there any factors that you focus on when it comes to going ahead with a case or not going ahead with the case and doing a plea deal or something like that?
Sure. Well, everything in criminal law depends on the facts of the case and the evidence, the admissible evidence, because not every bit of information collected by law enforcement is admissible in court. There are rules of evidence. And but additionally, the criminal history of the accused person is a big factor. And of course, here in Florida, one of the considerations, and pretty much everywhere, one of the considerations is the position of the victim, right? The state attorney's role is to protect the public at large, but also the individual victim. Now, the state attorney doesn't work for the victim, but the victim has a significant role in playing in prosecutions when it's a victim crime.
Okay. So I saw your video, Amanda, and I thought,
Yeah.
wow. So with her case, and when I put all this together, I will put that clip in. But I
Okay.
looked at that and I was like, wow. So she was in such dire restraints and real trouble. And she reached out to, at the time, current state attorney Monique Worrell. And from what I got, she got no help from that office. And she was really in need of assistance.
I was in an abusive relationship with the father of my 2 children. It all started right at the beginning. And I had an incident with him where he almost killed me with a hammer.
So Amanda called me and asked me for help. She was the victim of domestic violence repeatedly from the father of her kids.
Cases like this, the state attorney is supposed to, help the victims like me. I tried to reach Monique Worrell several times and no answers.
And so when she told me this story, I was horrified. And I couldn't believe that the state attorney's office, led by Monique Worrell, was dropping the ball.
I am today announcing the suspension of State Attorney Monique Worrell from the 9th Judicial Circuit, effective immediately.
And I am proud to tell you that this will not stop me from running for re-election.
I'm proud to endorse Seth Hyman. He saved me and my family.
I've witnessed countless cases like Amanda's unfold under Monique Worrell's watch. Unfortunately, it's no surprise because she's beholden to soft-on-crime billionaires like George Soros and their campaign cash. We must do better. That's why I'm running for state attorney. I'll keep violent criminals behind bars, work with crime prevention and job training programs to stop crime before it starts, and stand up for crime victims to ensure that people like Amanda get the justice they deserve.
Yeah. So for the folks listening or watching this, I put together a campaign commercial that partially features someone named Amanda, and she was a client of mine as a private criminal defense attorney. Sometimes I will represent a victim of crime. Now, traditionally, the state attorney's office, their role is to protect the victim and be in constant communication with the victim. And in fact, there's a position in most state attorney's offices, including the Orange County and Osceola County State Attorney's Office, for a victim advocate. That's the name of the position. It's not an attorney position, but it's someone who's kind of in between the victim of a crime and the assigned assistant state attorney. Now, obviously, I can't go into all the details of Amanda's circumstance, but Amanda was reaching out to the victim advocate, reaching out to the assistant state attorney, She physically went to the state attorney's office multiple times, waited in the lobby. Obviously, she spoke to a receptionist many times, waited in the lobby for hours and hours. She called, and she just was told, "We'll get back to you. We'll get back to you. We'll get back to you." And Amanda was terrorized by the father of her kids. They had an abusive relationship. She was, honestly, there were 3 or 4 different cases that some of them got consolidated. But on one occasion, he attacked her with a hammer. On another occasion, he placed a tracking device underneath her car and was following her. On one occasion, she had an injunction against him. At one point, she had to flee to Puerto Rico, and she was in Puerto Rico and had an injunction in Puerto Rico, and she came back. And then he found her and he beat her so mercilessly that she was in the intensive care unit in the hospital. And even after all of that, it was horrible. I had to fight tooth and nail to get the assigned assistant state attorney to really do what needed to be done. And now that person is in prison, and he'll be in prison until 2029.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
I'm glad you were able
Yeah.
to be there to help her. And it really goes to show you that, having a good state attorney is critical when you're in trouble and you need help and you need somebody. If this is where you're supposed to go and get help and they're not there, they're dropping the ball. So it's a good thing that there's people like you out there to pick up and run with it and help such a person in such a situation. So I thank you for what you did for Amanda.
Well,
So go.
thank
Go
you.
ahead.
Well, and what I expect Monique Worrell would say is, she tries to have it both ways. She would say, well, that's an assistant state attorney. They work for me. I didn't personally deal with Amanda's case. I'm not personally responsible. But then on the other hand, she would say, well, she's the leader of the organization. When something good happens, she would say, I'm the leader of this office. I'm responsible for my employees. And there are about 150 assistant state attorneys in that office and about 150 support staff. So that would be paralegals, legal assistants, and investigators, and more.
So with Monique Worrell at top of mind right now, I'm curious as to your thoughts into what her situation is now. Governor Ron DeSantis has initially removed her as state attorney for not doing her job. And so I know she is appealing that. She's fighting it. And I know that there was a recent December 6th, a Supreme Court hearing. I'm not sure what happened there.
She was elected by voters in 2 central Florida counties, but a few months ago, she was fired by the governor. Now, former state attorney Monique Worrell is taking her fight to the state Supreme Court. News 6's Mark Lehman was there as supporters boarded a bus ahead of today's arguments.
We were outside Mount Zion Baptist Church before sunrise as dozens headed to Tallahassee in support of former state attorney Monique Worrell. This as the Florida Supreme Court is taking up her case against Governor Ron DeSantis to get her job back.
There's a process. If someone is voted in and they're not doing their job, guess what? We get to vote them out, right? You don't get to remove them if they haven't done anything egregious or committed a crime.
Now, the public feud between these two has been going on for months. DeSantis removing Worrell from office after he said she undercharged for violent offenses, putting the community at risk. Worrell calling her ousting political retaliation and then filing her lawsuit with the Florida Supreme Court.
Our next case is Worrell versus DeSantis.
During arguments this morning, Worrell's attorney said DeSantis provided no evidence of misconduct.
If a governor were able to remove a prosecutor of a different political party simply because they disagree with our policies and categorize that as neglect of duty or incompetence, then that will have a substantial chilling effect on how state attorneys perform their roles or their willingness to serve.
An attorney for the governor, meanwhile, said this is not a case of prosecutorial discretion.
The governor properly suspended Ms. Worrell from office because of practices or policies that she adopted as state attorney that contravened legislative policies and simultaneously resulted in the gross underperformance of her office.
DeSantis' attorney also saying this should be a matter for the Senate and not the Supreme Court. After hearing today's arguments, the justices will file their response at a later date.
So it's been an amazing journey thus far on the City Talk podcast, and I wanted to take this moment to say thank you all, the subscribers, the sponsors, and everyone who's taken an interest in this podcast. And I also want to say Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to you all. Without your help and support, we could not do what we do. So we're going to be bringing you a lot more interesting conversation, a lot more candidates, and community leaders. And so we are excited for going into 2024. And we're going to be covering a lot of the candidates and their races, and we will have a lot of them on the program. And it's just an exciting time to be an American. It's an exciting time to be in politics because we have a presidential election that we are facing next year in 2024. In just a few short weeks, we will be headed into 2024, and the election, the presidential, congressional, local races, commissioners, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful time to be a part of all of this because we are truly looking to make change in our communities. And it starts with these local candidates like who we have on the program today, Seth Hyman, who is running for Osceola, Orange County state attorney. And again, we had many on the program before, those who ran for commissioner and those who are running for Congress. We have a good amount of people planned for the program, state representatives, and so on. So I'm really, truly excited for what we have coming on the program. But I just wanted to say thank you all again for all of your support. It means the world to us here at the City Talk Politics Podcast. So God bless you, God keep you, and we will be seeing you in the very near future.